Let me ask you something. When you think about building wealth, what age comes to mind? Your 20s, right? That's when you're supposed to start. That's when the compound interest magic happens. That's when all the gurus tell you to hustle. But here's the truth nobody talks about. Your 40s might actually be the most powerful decade of your financial life. And if you've been beating yourself up for not starting earlier, I'm about to show you why you're looking at this completely wrong. Look, I get it. You're in your 40s. Maybe you got some money saved, maybe you don't. Maybe you've been watching those 25-year-old millionaires on social media and thinking, I missed my shot. But what if I told you that investing $1,500 a month starting at 40 can actually set you up better than someone who invested $500 a month starting at 20? Not just in raw numbers, but in something way more important. Your actual ability to build and sustain wealth. This isn't about making you feel better. This is about understanding something the personal finance world keeps getting wrong. Your 40s aren't the decade where you're playing catch-up. They're the decade where everything you built finally starts paying off. Let me show you why. First, let's talk about the story we've all been fed. You know the one. Start investing at 22, put away $500 a month, and by 65 you'll be a millionaire. And if you didn't start at 22, well, you're behind. You missed the compound interest train. Better luck next life. This narrative is everywhere, and it's not completely wrong, but it's dangerously incomplete. Because here's what they don't tell you. Your 20s are broke. Like, actually broke. Most people in their 20s are drowning in student loans, working entry-level jobs, living with roommates, and eating ramen 4 nights a week. Finding $500 a month to invest? That's not just hard, it's often impossible. And even if you do manage to scrape together $500, you're doing it while your brain is still figuring out what discipline even means. You're one car repair away from raiding that investment account. One unexpected medical bill. One let's take a spontaneous trip to Europe moment. But in your 40s, everything changes that you're not just older. You're fundamentally different. You've got career capital. You've learned skills that actually pay. You've built a network. You figure out what works and what's a waste of time. And most importantly, you're earning real money. The person making $35,000 at 25 is now making $85,000 or more at 45. That's not luck. That's experience turning into value. Let's get specific. Your 40s are statistically your peak earning years. Not your 20s. Not your 30s. Your 40s and early 50s. This is when promotions happen. This is when you jump to senior roles. This is when you finally get paid what you're actually worth, because you've proven yourself over 2 decades, and this matters way more than starting early. Let me break down a simple comparison. Person A starts investing $500 a month at age 25. Person B starts investing $1,500 a month at age 40. Both retire at 65. Both get the same 8% average annual return. Person A invests for 40 years. That's $240,000 total invested. With compound interest, they end up with about $1.70 million. Person B invests for 25 years. That's $450,000 total invested. With compound interest, they end up with about $1.40 million. Now, yes, Person A ends up with more. But look at what Person B accomplished. They started 15 years later and still built serious wealth. And here's the kicker. Person B had a much easier time doing it, because finding $1,500 a month when you're making $90,000 a year is way more realistic than finding $500 a month when you're making $35,000. You're not sacrificing. You're just allocating. And that psychological difference? It's everything. Because wealth isn't just about math. It's about sustainability. It's about building habits you can actually stick to. But here's where it gets really interesting. And this is a part that almost nobody discusses. Your 40s give you something your 20s never could. Cognitive horsepower. I don't mean you're smarter. I mean you're wiser. You've made mistakes. You recovered from them. You know the difference between a real opportunity and shiny object syndrome. You've developed what I call pattern recognition. When you're 25 and someone pitches you on crypto, NFTs, or some can't-miss stock tip, you don't have the experience to filter noise from signal. You chase trends. You panic sell. You make emotional decisions. But at 45, you've seen market crashes. You've lived through economic cycles. You know that boring, consistent investing beats try and time the market. You've got the discipline to stay the course when things get shaky. This isn't just theory. Studies show that investors in their 40s and 50s make better financial decisions than younger investors. They're less impulsive, less prone to FOMO, more likely to have a plan and stick to it. And there's something else. You know yourself now. You know your risk tolerance. You know whether you're the type who needs to check your portfolio every day or the type who can set it and forget it. You know what keeps you up at night and what gives you peace of mind. That self-awareness is worth more than a decade of compound interest. Because you're not just investing money. You're building a system that works for your actual personality. Let's talk about something even more valuable than compound interest on money. Compound interest on knowledge that in your 40s, everything you've learned starts stacking. You're not just earning more, you're earning smarter. You figured out how to negotiate raises, how to spot career opportunities, how to build multiple income streams. Maybe you've developed a side business. Maybe you've learned to invest in real estate. Maybe you've just gotten really good at maximizing your 401k match and using tax advantage accounts. These aren't things you could have done in your 20s, even if you had the money, because they require understanding that only comes from experience. And here's the beautiful part. When you combine peak earnings with peak knowledge, your wealth building accelerates faster than any 25-year-old just starting out. You're not throwing money at index funds and hoping for the best. You're strategically building a diversified portfolio. You're taking advantage of employer benefits. You're optimizing for tax efficiency. You're thinking about asset allocation and rebalancing. This is wealth building on expert mode. And it compounds just like money does. Every smart decision you make leads to another one. Every strategy you master opens up new opportunities. Every mistake you avoid saves you thousands. Let's destroy this. It's too late. Myth once and for all. If you're 40 and you haven't started investing seriously, you haven't missed your window. You're actually entering it. You've got 25 years until retirement. That's enough time for your money to double 3 times at 8% returns. That's enough time to build serious, life-changing wealth. But more importantly, you've got something your younger self never had. The ability to actually do this right. You're not guessing anymore. You're not experimenting. You're not trying to figure out life while also trying to build wealth. You're established. You're focused. You're ready. And if you could invest $1,500 a month starting now, you're looking at over $1.4 million by 65. If you can push it to $2,000, you're over $1.8 million. These aren't fantasy numbers. This is basic math applied to the income you're already capable of earning. The key is starting now, not waiting until you figure everything out, not waiting until you paid off every debt. Now, because every month you wait costs you compound growth. But every month you act builds momentum. Look, I'm not going to tell you that starting in your 20s isn't valuable. Of course it is. Time in the market is powerful. But if you're in your 40s and you're just getting serious about wealth, you're not behind. You're right on time. You've got peak earnings. You've got hard-won wisdom. You've got the discipline to see this through. And you've got enough time for a compound interest to work its magic. The question isn't whether you should have started earlier. The question is, what are you going to do right now? Open that investment account. Set up automatic transfers. Start with whatever you can actually afford, even if it's less than $1,500. The amount matters less than the habit. Your 40s are your wealth sweet spot. Not because you've got more time, but because you've got more of everything that actually matters. Income, knowledge, discipline, and clarity. So stop looking back and start building forward. Your future self will thank you. And if you found this helpful, let me know in the comments. Let's build wealth together.